Welcome back to the Beef and Barnsey channel, Real Talk Reviews, and today we're going to talk about the RotoGrip RST Hyperdrive. 252-055-017, Microtracks, AI Core, all the goodies. As usual, we're going to start and just throw some shots here at the ITRC on the house shot and let you know what's on the lane. Not much oil on the gutter. So, all right. Yeah, I mean, we've actually been looking forward to this for a little while. This is a solid ball. This should be comparable up in the higher end. I drilled a Fresh Reality, one of the OGs, and so this one's going to get tested head-to-head with one of the best ones of all time. So, well, off of that's probably, I don't know, 10 boards. So let's move in here in the middle. See what we got. Yeah, relatively close. Some things are a little bit different, a little higher RG. We've had a ton of balls in the 248, 249 range. A little 252 should save a little more energy. Max up with a solid cover, which in the Storm line we had the physics blackout, but that was a Pearl and it ended up being pretty responsive. This should be a little bit smoother, probably handles downlane oil a touch better. All right, moved too far left there. All right, well, we'll get started here and bowl a game. I'd say 3 shots is probably enough. There's some hook to the right. We're on lane 6, which is probably one of the harder lanes here at the ITRC, but you know, it's still the house shot. So I drilled this one, well, actually Ryan drilled this one, 4.5 by 5 by 2.5. And so it flares plenty. Oh my goodness. Well, there's some hold too. All right. Got my Platinum Ford spare ball by Storm. Oh well, look at that. Knocked it right off there. All right, I got that one in a little bit. Let's see if we can get it to where we want to get it this time. Just a little tighter than I thought they were. Threw one shot that hooked. What else we got? Obviously, no smell. It's a RotoGrip ball, so we don't have to put up with that. And I don't know, we haven't even got the score up right now, so we're good there. It's pretty big, pretty smooth. It does save some energy, which kind of happy to see that. Let's move around a little bit and let's see what it looks like on the lane there. So again, 252, so it's medium RG in today's world. 055, 017, giant core after that. But let's move right, go a little straighter, see what happens. Rolled through them okay, that's an early good sign. One of my new Cool Wick jerseys with all the sponsors on. If you like any of these, coolwick.com, put Barnsey10 in there, you get a 10% discount. And as usual, we always have beefandbarnsey.com for any of that apparel you might want. Let's go ahead and go left and we'll throw a little slower, see what happens. The good news, it rolled in the puddle. The bad news is it didn't get around the corner enough to knock the 10 out. We'll see how that looks compared to some of these other balls here in a minute. Been on the road, we're 4 weeks into the season, so a little worn down, but looking forward to adding some new pieces. Let's add a little rotation and see what this looks like. It's kind of what you expect out of a big, slower ball. Let's go ahead and throw it to the right and see if it kind of rolls off of it, bounces off of it. Kind of pick up on what kind of response time we have. Once you get to the friction, didn't overhook off of it. It certainly went through the pins better. Well, I think what we really want to see is how this ball looks like against a couple of others. So the first one, let's put it up against one of my goats here. This one's 4.5 by 4 by 2.5, so relatively close. Mass bias is just a touch stronger. And well, we'll just throw it from the same spot. A little different, a little bit earlier. We'll have to throw a couple more to see exactly. All right, do the same thing and throw it to the right a little bit. Well, I didn't. And so it's a little earlier and smoother so far in the oil. Another ball we will throw, and this is drilled a little bit weaker. The mass bias is about the same, but this is going to be almost 5.5 by 4.5 by 3, and freshly scuffed. And what you'd expect with that, more responsive, came off of it sharper. It's also the first shot after putting surface on it. And now we'll throw the Hyperdrive up against that from that spot too, get a more accurate look. Definitely saves a little more energy, comes off the friction a little bit harder. We'll throw the physics block out again. Not quite apples to apples because it is quite a bit weaker pin position. It's certainly much more responsive, which you'd expect, which means the physics blackout will look better when there's a little bit more friction on the lane, especially down lane. Now in heavier oil, this is where the Hyperdrive I think can stand out a little bit. So again, we'll get up against it a little bit. Show another shot of being a little closer. Throw a little more towards the friction. One there can really stand out. Here at the ITRC with Pro Lane, it's pretty tight down lane anyway, and so keep it in the oil. It's a good test because we'll see how the balls do respond once they hit a lot of that down lane oil, which is what a lot of us see in league, especially in games 2 and 3, and we move in. It's a ball I think that can handle the cliff fairly well. You can see smooth, controllable. I think can handle heavier amounts of oil. I think it's going to be really good on the wet dry, and it's going to save a little bit more energy than some of the lower RG balls. We'll throw this reality from that spot and get a look. And reality is actually a little bit smoother. So you're comparing against brand new to brand new. One of my favorite balls of all time in the reality, and the Hyperdrive is just a little bit stronger off that same spot. So, I mean, that's early pretty good news. It's gonna fit as a smoother, a little earlier rolling ball than the Physics Blackout, which I had more balls to test up against, but lots of my stuff's on tour right now. So we have what we have, but you know, it's eye catching. It certainly hooks in the oil and it smooths off the dry. I think this one's a good ball for those patterns that have a little bit more volume on them and those surfaces that are a little bit slicker. You know, and if you find you have wet dry problems in games 2 and 3, I think this one could be your answer. So Hyperdrive solid. I think it also comes at 2,000. So if you really wanted it to hook more, it's easy to put a little 1,000 pad on it and get more friction out of it, more overall hook. But this one comes out, I believe, February 26th. No, I'm sorry, the videos come out February 26th, so that's gonna be mid-March is when that one's gonna be out, about the 20th or so, maybe the 17th. Look that up in your pro shop near you. And that's really all I got. RST Hyperdrive. This is the one for heavier oil. Come back, if you like this, check out Beef and Barnsey Real Talk reviews for this and more. Stu will have one as well, and come back next time. Like and subscribe. Thanks.